Yeah, Alan's not here.
I can imagine.
I'm going to try to wait like 2 more minutes.
So I just came from the funeral home on the way.
You have a forum.
So I made it here on time.
My Zoom isn't
Probably helped
working.
us at 6:30.
The Zoom link isn't working.
It
kind of-
I couldn't have done 5:30.
I don't know if it's just me.
I'm always a little firm on
Eric-
6:30 nights,
Eric-
like, because I'm so used to kind of like.
Maybe I have too many tabs.
You guys feed yourselves, so we still eat, but we eat like right at 5, and then I'm like. Hey,
Oh,
I'm
shoot,
running the
now I
door.
just-
I guess I got a few minutes. She's having trouble. And it's all traffic, so we didn't-
Evening, everyone, and welcome to the June 20th meeting of the Ames Community School District Board of Directors. I will call the meeting to order and entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second. Moved by Winfrey, seconded by Franzen. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. Passes 5-0. And I do just want to make sure that our community members know that if you'd like to speak at tonight's meeting, you have the opportunity to sign up. Did you just grab the sheet? Okay, so if you would still like to sign up, we can have you do that. And if you are joining us via Zoom, you can sign up via the link that you see on your screen. So, yes, okay. Thank you. All right, then we will go ahead and read our purpose statement, and we will read this all together. So we invite our audience members to join us if you would like. The Ames Community School District commits to equity and access that empowers every individual to reach their full personal and educational potential. Thank you. And we will move on to our discussion items. The first item is our board committee updates, and we'll begin tonight with the facilities. Well, actually we won't, because our facilities co-chair is not here. So we will move on to the policy committee.
Well, the policy committee has been busy. We met on June 9th and on June 16th and got through quite a few more policy updates, which I will hold for discussion in the next item.
Thank you. And then we will just push that facilities committee update to our next board meeting.
And I guess they were also meeting on Wednesday, I believe, right? Yeah.
We are, yes, correct. All right. And I'm just checking here. We don't have anyone signed up to speak under the board committee's discussion item. So we will move on to our policies for discussion. We'll turn it back over to Director Winfrey.
Yes, so thank you to Paul and to all the staff for getting us through so much of this. I'll say I've learned a lot in the past few months about policy, so which is good, I think. So I'm not going to go through all of these individually. I'm happy to answer questions or assume you've had a chance to look at them. I don't think any of these have any significant changes in terms of what we do in our district. A lot of them are updates based on IASB recommendations and kind of cleaning up some of our policy that maybe was a little duplicate or could be in other places like employee handbooks or student handbooks.
I'm looking at one near the bottom of the list, Director Winfrey, number 18.508.5. I like the original statement, the goal to prepare students to understand and demonstrate civic responsibility. I'm wondering about the reasoning for rescinding that policy and if that goal of preparing the students to have civic responsibility and decision-making, if that's going to be covered in some other way.
Yeah, I'd say, and I'll have Paula chime in too, but my kind of in a nutshell, we decided that, well, this policy is not one that's recommended by IASB. and is really not a policy as much as kind of just a statement of value. And we cover that with our policy on adding student representation and how we feel about student representation on the board and that involvement. And we also discussed this and the actual policy and procedure for that sort of involvement would be put in a student handbook that we would also be approving at another point. And I don't know if there's something else you want to add, Paula.
That captures the discussion, yes.
So the opportunity for to grow and learning to make decisions, part of it is representation on the board.
Yeah, and we approved a policy for that in a while back, right?
Correct.
And we started the process, I think, to add somebody in the fall.
Right.
Okay. I just want to make sure that
Yeah.
important goal is covered.
Yes,
somehow.
I would say rescinding this policy is not changing what I think anybody on the board feels about the importance of student voices. It's just that the place for this is not board policy. It's student handbook.
Got it. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments on the policies for discussion?
I'll just echo what Kelly said. Many thanks to the staff for continuing to push us forward, because while we are meeting often, there is a lot of work that takes place in between those meetings. So all of you that are working so diligently, thank you.
All right, and we do not have anyone signed up to speak on the policies for discussion. So that will take care of our discussion items, and we will move on to our, did I? Oh, I missed one. I'm so sorry. Yep, we have two sheets.
I don't know if there are more sheets back here.
So Carrie Marsh, we do have signed up to speak under this discussion item. And you're welcome to sit or stand.
Well, my discussion or my question here is for the 415.1 student teachers practicums and internships. I teach at Ames Middle School. I teach 7th grade science, and I've had student teachers before in a couple of years. And the procedure and for how to get a student teacher or who's going to get a student teacher is somewhat vague. And I've gotten different answers from different administrators. Mr. Fox told me one time that he had absolutely nothing to do with getting cooperative teachers. And if you wanted to have a student, you were allowed to have a student, even though that semester I didn't get one. And then there have been other instances. So I was reading the draft, and I'm assuming the original was the one underneath it. Although my question here first is, the draft seems to only be 1 page. And I'm assuming the original was 3. So it looks like you have shortened the policy for how to get student cooperative teachers for these student teachers coming and practicum students coming from Iowa State. And I'm just wondering if there's going to be any clear structure in how to, from the teacher side, from how to ask for one, how to get one, how often you can have one, any of those particulars. How many can be in one district building, or can there be as many, or anything like that? Because it looks like you took out quite a bit of that. I'm actually very happy that you took out the one that says cooperating teachers are selected by the principal on a basis of outstanding skills and evaluation, mainly because being a cooperating teacher is one way that I can earn renewal credit for my teaching license. And if that is contingent upon a principal recommending you or saying that you can do that, that limits me sometimes to what I can do for renewal credits. And while I trust Mr. Michaels completely on his decisions, he's only going to be here 1 more year, and the policy is going to be in effect for quite a bit longer. So that's, I guess, all I have to say about that.
Thank you, Carrie. Okay, then now we will go ahead and open our public forum, and I'll read our statement on public comments. Sorry, did someone have something else on that? Okay. Residents of the district, students attending the district, parents or guardians of students attending the district, and district staff members may address the board about any topic relevant to the district, whether on the current agenda or not. Those who wish to speak must sign up at the beginning of the meeting. Speaker participation is limited to 3 minutes once per item. The views and opinions of citizens addressing the board do not necessarily reflect those of the board, district administration, or staff. Speakers are to remember that Iowa law prohibits the board from discussing specific employees, students, or their performance. Student speakers will state their name and school. Others will state their name and address. And we will start with our folks who are in person. So we have Megan Giha.
Hi, my name is Megan Giha. I live at 1217 Curtis Avenue in Ames. I am an alumni of the Ames Community Schools and graduated Ames High School in 1995. And I'm here to speak on behalf of naming the auditorium after Mr. Wayne Hansen, who was an English and theater teacher at Ames High. School was always hard for me. I was a daydreamer. I got bored. When things were hard, I gave up. Later, as an adult, I was diagnosed with ADD, something that was brand new when I was a kid and definitely not recognized as much in girls. Because of this, if a class didn't interest me or wasn't in an area where I naturally excelled, I checked out and did the bare minimum so I wouldn't get into trouble at home. It's ironic that I became a teacher. When I look back on my years at Ames Middle and later Ames High School, I think of some teachers who not only motivated and inspired me to do my best in their classes, but who also shaped me as a human being. I am a teacher because of those teachers. Mr. Hansen was one of those teachers. I remember being intimidated of Mr. Hansen at first with his booming voice and his long hair and beard. He was unlike any teacher I'd ever had before. I quickly came to realize why he became a safe place for the kids like me. The misfits, the weirdos, the kids who were the square pegs in the round holes that is school. He accepted us as we were, spoke to us like adults, took the time to build relationships with us. He saw us when so many other teachers didn't. This is how I remember Hank the best as a teacher, the way he engaged his students. Some of the most passionate class discussions of my high school career were in his classroom. He was a student-centered teacher before student-centered teaching was a thing. Driving us to dig deeper into subjects that we were passionate about, and he fostered a classroom where you felt like a family. You felt heard, you felt safe. As a teacher, I strive to recreate this atmosphere in my classroom, and it isn't easy. Okay. When I found out Mr. Hansen died, memories came flooding back, the jokes and pranks he would pull, the way he would make you feel validated and seen, and how he was so very human with his students. I went to the estate sale held at his house after his death, and more memories came back. Notes from former students still on his fridge, framed programs from AHS Productions, a ruler with signatures from dozens of students on it, a closet full of pinstriped overalls. His home reflected the love he had not only for theater, but his love of teaching and his love for his students. I'm just one of hundreds, perhaps thousands of students that Mr. Hansen taught. I can think of dozens myself that were impacted by him in a profound way. Artists, actors, writers, and so many others. Teachers. I wouldn't be the teacher that I am today if it weren't for Hank. I'm a special education teacher who works primarily with kids who have learning disabilities in reading. My students are often the ones who don't fit in. The misfits, the weirdos, the ones who barely get by. If I had been properly diagnosed when I was a kid, I would have been one of them. Mr. Hansen was a bright light for me during those years, and I do everything that I can to be that light for my students. Thank you.
Thank you, Megan. All right, then we will move on to our Zoom participants, and the first one is Adam Shaw. And you've been given permission to speak.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I'm going to try and keep this to 3 minutes, and I'm probably going to fail, and I'm going to try and keep it together. I'm probably going to fail at that. I'm here tonight to talk about naming the school pool after Dan Flannery. Dan was my coach. I am a graduate of the class of 2001, which means I was on Dan's first team. I am one of what I believe is 4 athletes to win a varsity letter for both Mike Whitmer and Dan Flannery. And when Dan was hired, he was 22. I was 16. That means Dan was 6 years older than I was. Dan, over the years, became to mean the world to me. By my junior and senior years in high school, I lived in Dan's office instead of in study hall or studying, which probably would have been better for me, but actually it probably wouldn't be, because Dan taught me more than just swimming. He taught me life lessons. taught me what it was to set goals, what it was to work hard and achieve your goals, what it was to lead people. These are skills I use every single day in my life. And Dan taught me those things. Dan was a fantastic coach, and the success in the pool is immeasurable. But his success as a coach and a leader and a development of young men and later on young women can't be measured. I mean, I've had two mentors in my life, a boss and Dan Flannery. I lost one of them in 2020, and it broke my heart. I mean, the day we lost Dan, I had heard from a friend that something happened and Dan had collapsed at the pool. And Ames Swimming is a small community. I get in the phone, start making phone calls, and we find out 30 minutes later we lost him. I mean, he was 42 years old. I was 36 at the time. I mean, to lose somebody so young who meant so much to you. Me and a teammate went up to the funeral, and I watched my teammate, who was Andrew Van Meter, who's probably the best swimming male that Ames High has ever produced, hold his wife's hand and try to keep it together at the funeral. That's what he meant to all of us, every one of us. And I live in Kansas City now, but my job brings me around. And probably in about 2018, 2019, I was in Des Moines. I didn't have anything to do. Started looking on my computers, found that Ames was swimming Dowling. I figured I hate Dowling because we lost my senior year by 0.2 of a second to them on the final relay that cost us a state title. And I went to the pool and watched the team. And at intermission, I go down to get some chips, talk to Dan. He knows, we're talking. And Dan's wife, Jody, walks up to me. I haven't seen her in 20 years. And she says, "Hey, Adam, how you doing?" That's what it meant. It wasn't just Dan. It was Jody. It was later their kids. They meant the world to all of us. And they were a team fighting with us. So the least we can do is name a pool after him. I worked for Whitmer. I swam for Whitmer and I swam for Dan. And if you're going to name a pool after somebody, it's one of those two men. And even Whitmer would probably tell you, name the pool after Dan. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Adam. Sarah Siebert, you've been given permission to speak.
Hi, thank you. I'm Sarah Siebert of 923 Burnett Avenue in Ames. I have 2 kids in my household, one going into Meeker and one already at Meeker. I'd like to also speak in favor of naming the Ames High Auditorium after Wayne Hank Hansen. I was in his speech classes, all 16 plays, and was president of the Thespian Student Club that he oversaw in my senior year, so I knew him well. He gave a lot of us a reason to love high school and created an ambiance where everyone had a place where we could use our talents. He saw us, he respected us, and he was so utterly himself that it gave us the space to be who we were, even if some of us were a little bit weird. Hank helped us to learn to express ourselves and to collaborate with people who were very different from us toward the creation of something that was bigger than us. And I can't imagine what better life skills there are than that. The skills that I learned from Hank and the community that he created are ones I still use every day in my work. What impresses me is that friends I've kept in touch with from high school theater have found such varied ways to use the skills that he opened up for us. I haven't done much straight theater since high school, but I regularly do public speaking and training on domestic violence and sexual assault prevention. I have trained UN officials, government employees, grassroots nonprofit organizations worldwide because I'm not afraid to speak in public anymore, thanks largely to Hank. I co-wrote Street Theaters as part of a domestic violence prevention methodology that's now being used in over 35 countries. And I don't mean to try to sound impressive, but want to give a sense of the diverse ripple effects that Hank's influence has had on the world. And Hank, of course, is Mr. Wayne Hansen. We all called him Hank. Hank did what the best teachers do. He trusted us and pushed us to do our best and to be our best selves and to stretch and work well with others. I remember when I was cast in a musical at his insistence, even though I am not a singer, struggling in rehearsal with my solo over the amused snickers of my classmates. And despite the best efforts of the music teacher, Hank interrupted and said, "Sarah, act like you can sing." And somehow those words from that person opened it up for me. And I could figure out how to do something that scared me from the basis of something I loved. And I did it. Hank helped so many of us break open like that so that we could grow. And naming the auditorium after him is one way to honor him, to honor collaboration, to affirm the belonging of even those of us who really didn't feel like we belonged anywhere else. Honoring him in this way can also be seen as an honor to all the teachers who make similar contributions in their own ways in their classrooms today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sarah. Sandra DeLuca? You've been given permission to speak.
Thank you so much. I'm Sandra DeLuca, 3520 Jewel Drive. I'm joining Megan and Sarah here tonight. So good to hear what they had to say. I'm reading a portion of a letter tonight, also in support for naming the new Ames High Auditorium for Wayne Hank Hansen. And this portion of a letter is from Brooke Harker, and she is an Ames High class of 96 graduate. She's an accomplished visual artist and is actually on location in Italy right now for work. So I got her permission to read some of her letter here tonight. So Brooke says, "I can say that I likely wouldn't be where I am today without the experiences in Hank's drama program at Ames High. Hank cast me in my first speaking role my first year of high school. I had grown up in a back brace for scoliosis and spent a good deal of my childhood acting like the stares at the metal contraption around me didn't bother me. I felt different than those around me and uncomfortable speaking up in class. When Hank cast me in that first play, in an instant, he gave me a place to belong and a place to channel the feelings that surged through me. I found my voice. I went from not wanting to speak in front of others to being the person who frequently spoke in class. I went on to be in 15 of Hank's productions at Ames High, on stage and off, Saturday mornings at the school, working with power tools, sewing costumes, painting the sets, and planning publicity were some of my favorite times. That environment of connection that Hank promoted quite literally saved lives and helped build friendships that would last a lifetime. Hank saw my work ethic and the gifts I had to share, and his belief in me meant so much to me. And that recognition helped me see myself as someone who had something to contribute to the world. I went on to major in theater at UNI, where Hank also went to school. His letter of recommendation helped me get a scholarship there. And over 20 years later, I still remember one line from his letter. He said, "Brooke will be an asset to any endeavor." So that's the part I remember, that I would be an asset. I had a double emphasis in performance and in theater and education and youth theater, and I fell very much in love with being for children who Hank was for me, a person who saw them, used humor to communicate with them, and witnessed children going from being unable to speak in class to being outspoken and confident. I've since worked with children all over the world using theater, including for our US military in Italy, Japan, and Germany. I created an outreach drama program in Northern Iowa that served over 500 children each week. I've worked with thousands of children from every culture and class throughout Los Angeles using theater education. I'm known more as a visual artist now, but I can see the influence of Hank in almost everything I create. The efforts and teamwork in my spirit are rooted in the respect for what others create. That's what Hank instilled in us. When I put my own pinstriped overalls on to paint, I know it's time to work, create, and be part of sharing stories that are bigger than my life alone. It reminds me of that feeling of belonging. That was Brooke Harker, Ames High class of 96. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sandra. And that is the last person signed up to speak in the public forum. So I will go ahead and close our public forum and we'll move on to our consent agenda. And I'll entertain a motion.
I move the board approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second. Moved by Franzen, seconded by Winfrey. Superintendent Vincent?
Yes, it's my pleasure to acknowledge two donors this evening. We have an anonymous donor that contributed to the Launch Hero program, and also a cash contribution by Havercamp Properties to the Northwood Inclusive Playground Project. And once again, we express our appreciation for this generosity.
Thank you. It was moved by Franzen, seconded by Winfrey to accept the consent agenda. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. Passes 5-0. Moving on to our action items, we'll begin with our policies for action.
I move the board approve the policies as presented.
Second.
Moved by Winfrey, seconded by Becker. Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Passes 5-0. And our next one, sorry, my screen froze here. The materials adoption for secondary social studies.
I move the board adopt the materials for secondary social studies as presented.
Second.
Moved by Linkaitis, seconded by Franzen. Discussion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. Passes 5-0. New Ames High School construction project change orders.
I move the board approve the change orders to the new Ames High School construction project as presented.
Second.
Moved by Franzen, seconded by Linkaitis. Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Passes 5-0. Facility subunit naming recommendation for the Ames High Pool.
I move the board approve naming the pool in the new Ames High Natatorium, the Dan Flannery Pool.
Second.
Moved by Franzen, seconded by Linkaitis. Discussion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. Passes 5-0. All right, then we will move on to our board and staff items, beginning with items from the board. I do not have any requests for staff this evening, but I did want to take the opportunity to say a big thank you to our interim superintendent, Paula Vincent. You have just been awesome to work with, and you have done so much for the district, and I can't believe how quickly the year has gone by,
Very fast.
and we are going to miss you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I'll echo all of that. I think the other thing I would say is in our opportunity to represent the community, I was really proud tonight to just officially name the pool. So all those that reached out and shared your experiences with us, thank you. And to all of you who shared him with this district, thank you.
Have
a little treat for you.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Dan Flannery was one of the most accomplished high school swimming coaches in state history. He had been the Ames High head girls swimming and diving coach since 2002 and led the boys program since 1998, before unexpectedly passing away in July of 2020. He has a resume that is unrivaled in the state of Iowa that includes 9 total state championships in boys and girls swimming. The Ames High girls program won 4 straight titles between 2010 and 2013, and then again from 2015 to 2018. Those 8 state titles on the girls' side are tied for the state record. Flannery also led the boys' team to a championship in 2018, further solidifying himself as one of the top coaches in swimming state history. He effectively prepared Ames High athletes for collegiate swimming, helping many to compete at Division I, II, and III programs. In 2018, Flannery was named the recipient of the Iowa Girls High School Athletic Union's Golden Plaque of Distinction Award. In November 2021, he was inducted into the Iowa High School Swim Coaches Association Hall of Fame. If you ask any of his former students or athletes, Coach Flannery's legacy extends far beyond any awards or trophies. He was the epitome of going above and beyond for his entire team. Any Ames High student who wanted to compete on the swimming team had a spot. It didn't matter if you were a star swimmer, star student, or neither. He gave the same attention and care to everyone. In 2018, when the Ames community approved a bond referendum for a new high school, Dan was there from the beginning. Through his own swimming career and that as a coach, he had been in nearly every high school and collegiate pool in Iowa and much of the Midwest. During the design phase, he provided input on nearly every aspect of the pool construction prior to his passing away. Now that the pool is nearly complete, the Ames School Board approved the naming of the pool at Ames High School, the Dan Flannery Pool, to memorialize his legacy and profound impact on students and the Ames community.
Thank you, Director Schmidt, for sharing a little bit of the work that's being planned for a celebration later in the fall as the students are back and using the pool. And what great fun to relive some of those memories that I'm sure people that have spoken or in the audience probably had personally, but such a tribute. So appreciate the board accepting the recommendation and look forward to the celebrations that will be to come. One other item, this, believe it or not, I think this is maybe my last board meeting for a school district ever. I haven't really counted how many that's been through my career, but I just want to extend a thank you to the community and families for the support they've shown to the district for education throughout this year. Another challenging year, but things are definitely beginning to return, if there is such a thing as returning to what we experienced prior to the pandemic. A special thank you to staff. Ames is full of dedicated, passionate staff in the buildings, in the district office. Thank you for making this a great place to be this year. And most of all, thank you to the board for the opportunity. It has been my great pleasure. I have no other comments.
We will move on to the board planning calendar. And our next meeting will be Dr. Lawson's first meeting. On July 11th, we will also have a work session at that meeting. And then our second meeting in July is scheduled for the 25th. Questions or comments on the board planning calendar? Okay. Then we will take a 5-minute recess and we'll move into our closed session, and we will be ending our broadcast at this time as well. Thank you for joining us.
Do you want us to take
motion
the
first?
motion?
Oh my God. Maybe we should do the motion for the closed session. Yeah, it's probably a good idea.
We're both ready.
I move the board hold a closed session as provided in 21.51I of the Open Meetings Law to evaluate the professional competency of an individual whose appointment, hiring, performance, or discharge is being considered when necessary to prevent needless and irreparable injury to that individual's reputation, and that individual has requested a closed session.
Second.
Moved by Franzen, seconded by Becker, and we will do a roll call vote. I'm just going to go down the line. Director Winfrey? Aye. Director Becker?
Aye.
Director Linkaitis?
Aye.
Director Shields Cook? Aye. Director Franzen?
Aye.
Passes 5-0. And so now we will take a 5-minute recess.